Hey now, it's Sharon, and I'm back to share another idea on how to reform 12. I have to use words like this because it just seems like the algorithm does something funny. But yeah, to reform 12. Um, if you're new to the channel, I'm a retired detective. I worked for 20 years for a southeastern city in the US, and I was also in the military. I am sharing my experiences in policing, especially whistleblowing. I had to do it twice, and the second time is when I had this realization about my beliefs and attitudes. And so I share a lot of that. And I put a plan together on how to reform 12. And this is the table, the the table that I choose to share it on. And so here's the idea. Here's another idea. I've shared different things throughout my videos, and one of them is, if you're thinking on becoming a police officer, I would suggest take the implicit bias test. I think it's called the Harvard Implicit Test, I believe, and just Google it. It'll pop right up. And it's a test. It's called the implicit test. I took a couple of them, and of course, there were some of them I didn't believe, and some of them was like, wow. And it didn't lie. It didn't lie, so to speak, but I took it, and I said to myself, I wish I had known this before I got into policing. And the reason why I say that is because I've talked about this before, I carried certain biases, especially about white men, into policing. And I share that in my book. I share that on other videos. And that is something that I wish I had known, some of the biases, because biases sometimes present themselves as just habit, or as just a given or an attitude, and we don't see it as a bias towards maybe a group of people or belief. And so that test helped me see some things about myself I kind of already knew, but I guess I just didn't want to deal with. But that's one thing I would suggest. Take the implicit bias test before becoming a police officer. Or if you want to add some more training to your career as a police officer, I would suggest take that and then build off of that, mind you. Do the research. Because I did mention this before. How is it that in policing, we don't know the history of policing? To become a dentist, you have to know the history. To become a teacher, I'm sure they had to write papers on who inspired them from eons ago. Who came up with the idea of sitting in a classroom and sitting around someone? Where did that come from? To learn. But as in policing, we're not made to know the history of policing. They may touch on it a little bit, but we don't have to know it. And I would suggest knowing it at least for your own good, how policing came about and how policing came about in other countries also. So those are the two main ideas. Take the implicit bias test so you know your bias. And if you know them, then you could do something about them if you want to. But that's a suggestion. And the other thing is, with the implicit bias test, you can do some research. And like I said, find out some things about yourself. But the other thing is that you can volunteer if you really want to know about another group of people and how they do things, their culture, their faith. Volunteer at different places so you can get to know folks. Just don't come into policing with your ideas, because your ideas are probably small compared to what's actually going on. But that's all I want to share. Take a look at our online store. The link is in the description. And I created some books. The links for those are in the descriptions. They take you straight to Amazon. And again, my book, it's coming, y'all. It's coming. It's looking good too. And I just want to share that little bit with you. And always remember, you don't necessarily have to go through a thing to learn from it. Talk to you guys later. Bye.